Good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to thank AIOC Scientific Committee and Dr. Somshila for inviting me here today to speak on multimodal imaging in case examples. Multimodal imaging, where we have combination of imaging methods, varies from color fundus photography, red-free imaging, fundus autofluorescence, and FFA to study the retinal circulation, ICG for the choroidal circulation. We have non-invasive imaging methods such as OCT and OCTA. All this can be done simultaneously at the point of interest in the same patient to study the pathology in depth. For the benefit of the postgraduates, I request them to go through this article, multimodal image of the normal eye. We need to know how the normal eye looks. From that, we can appreciate the pathological eye. Multimodal imaging applies not only to the posterior segment of the eye, it can be applied in the anterior segment as well. In multimodal imaging in uveitis, anterior segment, we have a photography, specular microscopy to study the endothelial cell count, especially before the cataract surgery or in complicated cataract surgeries. Then in vivo confocal microscopy, anterior segment OCT, ultrasound biomicroscopy, we have laser fluorimetry to quantify the inflammation and various imaging methods. This invasive angiography can be done, indocyanine green angiography can be done to study the iris circulation, and also we have iris and infrared imaging of the iris. So these are the various methods available to study. Now in multimodal imaging of the anterior segment, here we could see the various imaging methods. Here the confocal showing the various types of keratic precipitates, ASOCT and UBM are there, and ICG. Here you can see the ischemia and the iris margin. In the late phase, there is diffusion from the collateral vessels. We'll start with the case example. Here, 23-year female bilateral panuveitis with suspected peripapillary CNVM in both eyes. OCT shows there is a break in the RPE-Brooks membrane with hyperreflective echoes in the outer retina, confirming the presence of CNVM. In the left eye, in addition to the break, you could see the fluid-filled cystic spaces within the retina as well. In addition to that, you could see the hyperreflective dots in the vitreous cavity suggestive of active inflammation. Here is a multimodal imaging. FFA shows hyperfluorescence in the peripapillary area. ICG shows, in addition to the peripapillary lesion, you could see multiple hypofluorescent dark dots, which shows extensive involvement of the choroid, showing active inflammation is happening. OCTA has 4 different layers. Here, the superficial vascular layer looks normal. In the deep capillary plexus, you could see the hyperfluorescence surrounding the area of hyperfluorescence. In the outer retina, we could see the presence of vessel complex. And this is the choroid has both hyper as well as hyperfluorescence, confirming the presence of choroidal neovascular membrane along with active uveitis in the right eye. The left eye also shows similar picture. Here the fovea is thin, so you could see the hyperfluorescence in the fovea. In addition to that, you could see multiple hyperfluorescent dark dots in the choroid. So here again, inflammations with CNVM is there in the peripapillary region. This particular patient's OCTA has been used for the follow-up. Here is a factorial analysis, shows increasing the vessel density and decreasing the space between the vessels, which help us to follow up in this case of the peripapillary CNVM. The next case is a case of a 32-year male, sudden decrease in vision since 1 week. The visual acuity at presentation was counting finger half meter in the right eye. When you look at it, you could see the annular opacification in the outer retina in the right eye. In the left eye had vitritis 1+, but the fundus grossly looks normal. But when we did the autofluorescence, you could see the areas of hyperautofluorescence mixed with hypoautofluorescence in the right eye. And here there is a hyperautofluorescent lesions, looks like a triangular patch like kind of a configuration. FFA showed disc leak, staining and leakage from the retinal vessels in both eyes. OCT shows, in addition to the posterior vitreous cells, there is a destruction of the outer retinal layers where you can see the distortion of the LM with the myoid ellipsoid zone alterations. Where the active edge is there, we could see it's not only the retina, but also the choroid is involved. Here again in the left eye, you could see the destruction of the outer retinal layers with increasing thickness of the choroid in addition to the retinal changes. So we made the diagnosis of retinochoroiditis based on the triangular patch of retinitis. What we are seeing on autofluorescence imaging made us to suspect the possibility of syphilis in the differential diagnosis, and that both TTHA as well as the BDRL was positive, HIV was negative, and this patient was treated with injection benzathine penicillin 24 lakhs IM for about 4 weeks. Following, we could see the complete resolution of the inflammation with the visual acuities improving to 6/9, and the restoration of outer retinal layers is happening in both eyes. So this is one of the things where early diagnosis and appropriate treatment in infective uveitis can result in better outcome. The next case is a case of a 21-year female presented with decreased vision of 3 days duration. She gave history of fever, visual acuity of 624. We could see the hyperemia of the disc with multiple retinal hemorrhages with focal areas of retinitis in the posterior pole. FFA shows early hypo with late hyperfluorescence with multiple hyperfluorescent spots corresponding to the areas of the retinal hemorrhages with tortuous vessels. OCT shows altered foveal contour with focal areas of hyperreflectivity underneath the fovea. This particular pattern is suggestive of foveolitis. Based on this morphology, we did suspect dengue in this case. On investigations, the dengue IgG antibodies was positive along with serum increased homocysteine level was increased with vitamin B12 deficiency. So patient was put on systemic steroids along with corrective measures and folic acid supplements for hyperhomocysteinemia, following which we could see the resolving macular edema in this case. Yes, multimodal imaging helps us to pinpoint the probable differential diagnosis to investigate according to the findings. Here is a 46-year female presented with blurred vision in both eyes. We can see mutton fat keratic precipitates on anterior segment examination in both eyes. And also you could see the hyporeflective multiple choroidal granulomas in both eyes. Clinically, she's diagnosed to have bilateral granulomatous panuveitis. FFA shows diffuse dilatation of the vessels with disc leakage from the vessels, suggestive of a perivascular leak. She's diagnosed on investigations found to have a sarcoidosis. OCT shows well-defined hyporeflective choroidal granuloma in both eyes. Following treatment with systemic steroids, you could see the complete resolution and disappearance of the keratic precipitates both on anterior segment photography and confocal microscopy. The OCT shows healed granuloma in this eye, and here other eye showing healing granuloma. So here again, the imaging helps us not only for the diagnosis, but also monitoring the response to treatment in these cases. A 56 years male presented with recurrent uveitis and not responding well to the systemic steroids. He had few white keratic precipitates. Confocal imaging showed incomplete floral pattern on both eyes. Fundus imaging showed vitritis with multiple ill-defined hypopigmented lesions in the fundus. FFA shows block fluorescence with multiple hyperfluorescent spots in both eyes. I would like to draw attention to OCT, which shows multiple vertical hyperreflective lines. This is one of the earliest biomarker for intraocular lymphoma. In addition to that, you could see the sub-RP deposits. This is again is a classical biomarker, what we see it in case of intraocular lymphoma. The first biopsy, vitreous biopsy, was negative, and subsequently the lesions started increasing, and the repeat biopsy is confirmed to be a intraocular lymphoma. Autofluorescence shows early hypo with hyperautofluorescent lesions in the left eye. And during the follow-up, we could see the increasing in the sub-RP deposits. And subsequently, the patient started on intravitreal and systemic chemotherapy.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Would appreciate if you end in next 30 seconds.
Sure. Thank you. So here is a case of a leukemia which shows confocal shows hyperchromatic nuclei with enlarged cells corresponding to the blast cells. Here is a case of idiopathic retinal vasculitis. Fundus photograph is normal. Staining and leakage on FFA, where you can see the perivascular cuffing of adaptive optics. Following treatment, you could monitor the response to treatment with the disappearance of the cuffing in this case. To conclude, multimodal imaging can help not only in making the diagnosis or confirming the diagnosis, and also it's documenting and following up of patients with various uveitic conditions affecting the anterior and posterior segment of the eye. However, when there is an RPE and chorea capillaries are affected, autofluorescence is the preferred mode of monitoring the disease. Vasculitis, we monitor with the fundus fluorescent angiography. In case of inflammatory CNVM, we use OCTA to monitor the response to treatment. With this few words, I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity and thank you for your attention.